There you go. Guess who's in the house? Last call before the holiday break for those seeking to make their fortunes and trying to make sure that they're good for Santa Claus to come around as well. The designated hitter today for Jeff Yasteen. Welcome in today's Money Master, Andrew Packer. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us. Let's go ahead and get right to it. The Dow Jones kind of meandering a little bit today. I'm looking at them right now. A few points here and there. It's just the day before a holiday, right?
Right. It's always pretty quiet this time of year in the markets, and usually we can expect between now and the end of the year to be a slight gainer on average, but on pretty light, below average volume.
What do you got for the numbers right now? Because I'm looking at it, but you go ahead. What are you seeing right now on the different indices?
Last time I checked the numbers, Dow looked flat, S&P up just a hair, and the NASDAQ being the big winner today, but still up less than 0.5%. So very quiet. Pretty typical for the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, NASDAQ, last we're looking at it, is a 0.49%. It's up about 23 points, but you're right. Everything's kind of meandering at this point. Let's get around to some news here. The FAA proposes requiring a fix to the Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner. I mean, my goodness, this is a plane that has just had so much trouble, and you can only imagine what it's been doing to Boeing's stock.
Well, the nice thing is that the fix for this particular sensor is only $935. Which would only affect the 15 Dreamliners currently in the U.S. Fleets. And on a $200 million plane, that's not too bad in the bad scheme of things. So it could definitely be a lot worse.
Is Wall Street, though, still watching Boeing as far as we can tell, simply because this has been an aircraft that's had a tremendous amount of problems? Granted, this is a small one, but they're still kind of watching with a very cautious eye.
Right, and that's been true of the whole Dreamliner just coming into service. There's been a lot of delays along the way. Things have gotten a lot more expensive than planned. So this is just another little bump on the road that we're seeing as these planes, get into the fleet, they get into production, and we actually see how well their systems are faring after actual use.
Let's go ahead and get to OPEC, because certainly America becoming a little more energy independent right now with a lot of the fracking and a lot of the different fuel that's being pushed out right now. OPEC's in a little bit of a bind. So let's see, the Saudis, the UAE, they're not going to push for an oil cut right now, but it makes you wonder what they are going to do down the road if they continue to lose money.
Right. One comment that actually came out today ahead of this OPEC meeting was from one of the members of the Saudi Arabia delegation that actually suggested that places like Texas and North Dakota would need to cut production before Saudi Arabia does. Given the higher costs of producing shale and fracking and those energy explosions that we've had here in the U.S., that definitely makes sense since Saudi Arabia is the world's low-cost producer of oil.
Well, they don't want to cut their production because they don't want to lose any market shares to the U.S. oil market, correct?
It seems like they'd be willing to lose market share in the short term if it meant potentially slowing down the shale production in the U.S. in the long term. But some members of OPEC, such as Venezuela and Iran, have already discussed ramping up production cuts. And it should be noted that Saudi Arabia itself has actually cut production a few times already since oil prices peaked in the summer.
Thanksgiving Day, I thought this was interesting. If you compare prices now to prices 100 years ago and basically look at the scale, Thanksgiving seems to be a little bit cheaper today than it was 100 years ago.
Right. Over the past 3 or 4 years now, we've actually seen the average cost of a Thanksgiving dinner for 10 come in at about $49. So not too much food inflation in the past few years. That's really abated. But if you look back over 100 years adjusted for inflation, the overall price for that same basket of Thanksgiving fixins for 10 would have been about $167. So, I think we can all be grateful for the fact that we don't all have to work on the farm all day and have to pay such a relatively high amount for Thanksgiving dinner.
I am grateful for that every single day. All right, a little bit less than a minute that we have here. 10 things not to buy on Black Friday. I know we're not going to get to all of them here, but what's a couple that come to your mind right away that, as far as Black Friday is concerned, is just foolish?
The big important ones are the electronics, tablets and televisions. Those are the ones that get a lot of the ad time and really entice people to come in. But that $99 television might not even have all the features that you want to have in it. It might not have be as high a quality as a better television. And for something you're going to be watching all the time, you want to pay up for quality.
Well, that's the whole point, too. You're making an investment here, and you have to take it on that sort of a thinking process, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and some of these tablets are off-brand. It doesn't have the quality or brand name, and you don't necessarily get the guarantees that you would get buying from a more higher-end model or a reputable brand name.
Nothing's free, nothing comes cheap, and if you're going to buy it, you got to buy something that's going to last you for a while, or you're just going to be going out and buying another one another day or two. Not for me,
exactly.
And no Black Friday. Andrew Packer, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. We thank you so much for sitting in for Jeff today. You and your family have a great Thanksgiving holiday.
Thanks. You too. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Okay, other side of a short break, how a prosecuting attorney, the president, and a former Secretary of Defense fail to fool anybody. At least they won't fool us. It's coming up right here on MidPoint.